This is David Daniel just outside Hotel Texas on the parking lot, awaiting the arrival of President Kennedy for his outside speech at 8:45. A police captain has estimated the crowd at 2,000 people. They're about 50 deep, forming an arch behind wooden barricades and forming a semicircle. An announcement was just made that President Kennedy, along with Vice President Johnson, Senator Yarborough, and Representative Jim Wright would be here in just a moment, and urged the crowd to bear with us. And that was the result, an outburst by the crowd. And here is the President. President Kennedy is flanked by Representative Jim Wright. You hear the crowd applaud him. He's making his way across 8th Street. Now Representative Jim Wright.
Our friends, this is the proudest day in the history of Fort Worth and Tarrant County. Before I present our highly honored guests, let me briefly introduce those of our home folks who have helped make this event possible. The distinguished president of the Fort Worth Chamber of Commerce, Raymond E. Buck. State Executive Committee woman from Tarrant County, Mrs. David O. Ballou, Jr. Our energetic, able State Senator Don Kennard. May I present to you the senior senator from the state of Texas, the Honorable Ralph W. Yarborough. And one who hardly needs an introduction, Fort Worth's own distinguished governor of Texas, John B. Connally. And now it is my high honor and great privilege to present to you the greatest Texan of them all, who has reflected more glory and credit upon the Lone Star State, done more good for the Lone Star State, served the nation more admirably than any other Texan in the history of our state, the Vice President of the United States, Lyndon B. Johnson.
Congressman Wright, Mr. President, Senator Yarborough, Governor Connally, ladies and gentlemen, it is my high honor and my great privilege to present to the good people of Fort Worth our able, our beloved, our fearless leader of the United States and all the free world, the President of the United States.
Mr. Vice President, Jim Wright, Governor, Senator Yarborough, Mr. Buck, ladies and gentlemen, there are no faint hearts in Fort Worth, and I appreciate your being here this morning. Mrs. Kennedy is organizing herself. It takes longer, but of course she looks better than we do when she does it. But we appreciate your welcome. This city's been a great western city, the defense of the West, cattle, oil, and all the rest. It has believed in strength in this city, and strength in this state, and strength in this country. What we're trying to do in this country and what we're trying to do around the world, I believe, is quite simple. And that is to build a military structure which will defend the vital interests of the United States. And in that great cause, Fort Worth, as it did in World War II, as it did in developing the best bomber system in the world, the B-58, and as it will now do in developing the best fighter system in the world, the TFX, Fort Worth will play its proper part. And that is why we have placed so much emphasis in the last 3 years in building a defense system second to none. Until now, the United States is stronger than it's ever been in its history. And secondly, we believe that the new environment, space, the new sea, is also an area where the United States should be second to none. And this state of Texas and the United States is now engaged in the most concentrated effort in history to provide leadership in this area as it must here on earth. And this is our second great effort. And next December, next month, the United States will fire the largest booster in the history of the world, putting us ahead of the Soviet Union in that area for the first time in our history. And thirdly, for the United States to fulfill its obligations around the world requires that the United States move forward economically, that the people of this country participate in rising prosperity. And it is a fact in 1962 and the first 6 months of 1963, the economy of the United States grew not only faster than nearly every Western country, which had not been true in the 50s, but also grew faster than the Soviet Union itself. That's the kind of strength the United States needs economically, in space, militarily. And in the final analysis, that strength depends upon the willingness of the citizens of the United States to assume the burdens of leadership. I know one place where they are. Here in this rain, in Fort Worth, in Texas, in the United States, we're going forward. Thank you.
The President now takes his...
Thank you for being here. The President and Mrs. Kennedy will begin the motorcade here after the Chamber of Commerce breakfast is over. Thank you so much.
That was Representative Jim Wright. Now the President makes his way to greet some more of the crowd, walking around the barricades, touching the hands of those around the barricade. This is the crowd as they shake hands with President Kennedy. He's making his way through the crowd. We have a long microphone which is about 14 inches long. It looks sort of like a long pistol. Secret Service agent approached us and says, just don't put that in front of the President. The President is weeding his way slowly through the crowd as many more crowd around him, trying to reach out, stretch out, touch his hand. Many have cameras trying to take pictures. This is David Daniel on the parking lot of Hotel Texas, now returning you to the studio.
Real good, Jack.
Now Now the president has decided to go shake the hand of a sheriff's posse rider.